Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Railworld, and today we're going to work on looking at the supply force circuits. What we're going to do is we're going to go over to the circuit outpost and we're going to check up on how the ores are going. So we'll just hop on board this and it will take us straight over there. We're now in update 0.11.13, which means that the train should now operate a lot better and there should be a lot less in the way of detours and things like that, which is excellent. So anyway, on initial inspection I can immediately tell copper is in a spot of bother. There's only 3 chests that have anything in it. When a train finally arrives, it's blocked, though I guess that's not always the case. And basically it looks like we urgently need to get some more copper coming in, because the trains that do unload have barely any copper on them to start with, which is very bad. So the very first thing I do is build a new train. Clearly, whatever we do, it's going to involve one of those. So we'll hop on board this the coal train right here, and this will get us back up to the main base so we can check up on things and grab things that we need and so on. So if we go, and then we'll just run out as it passes. Turns out it stops at the next light, but whatever. And then we hop on board this train here, which will take us to Copper Outpost 1 to see what's going on there. And when I arrive, I can see that everything is completely ruined, basically. All the mining drills have shut down, nearly. There's a bunch of redundant power stuff and defensive stuff now. And the place is just basically on its last legs. And there's so many mining drills that have finished, it's ridiculous. So I'm having to deconstruct all of these. And it gets to the point where I actually run out of inventory space in just a moment. So I'm just like, I have to move the power system thing because everything's shifted sideways so much in recent times. So there we go, the inventory's now full, which is a bit of a problem. So like, I can't find anywhere to put these iron bars that I have in my hand. And I try and deconstruct some conveyor belts and they just get dumped on the floor, so I have to plonk down a chest and just stick a bunch of stuff in it so that I actually have some room in my inventory to clear things up, and then I'll have to see what I can get to take back home and get rid of. Basically my inventory has just been a complete mess for a while now, because there's just too many different things now that I've always got on me, and it's no good. I need to have a proper big cleanup and sort of think about what I actually need to have. Anyway, speaking of a cleanup, I've fixed all this mess of conveyor belts here, and I'm just going to disconnect this whole section here because there's so little ore coming through now that there's only the need for half of the loading system that we would usually have. So we grab back what we can easily fit in our inventory, and then we can take the next train home, though I just missed the one that was parked there, so I'll just hang around for a while, deconstruct a couple of extra turrets, and then here's the train, and once it's finished loading we can set off back over to wherever this one goes. I didn't check which train this was, so we'll just have to see what happens. Off we go, back in the direction of somewhere, civilization at least, and it's going to the main base, which is good because that's a better place to go. So we need to go around and get rid of all this rubbish that's in our inventory now. So we've got a ton of like extra iron, so we'll put that into a furnace there, and we've got some extra copper as well, so we'll put that into a furnace. I don't know how we've ended up with these extra raw materials, but we can easily enough get rid of them. We can get rid of the iron bars into the assembler we recently set up for them. You can see that the steel is still not enough, even with all of the additions that we've done to it, to actually keep the production of rail bits going at full speed, which is annoying. So we'll just have to let it go at its slower rate. It's not too much of a problem because it looks like the chests have nearly filled with literally thousands and thousands of rails, so that's not too much of a problem at the end of the day. So now what I've decided to do is, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to try and catch a train over to Copper Outpost 2. Unfortunately, both of them are over there, so I just set off walking with some exoskeletons, because what we're going to do is build a new rail branch. The time has come, and this one is going to be for copper, of course, to supplement the failing copper mining systems, because of course if we go over here you can see that we have mining drills already mining every deposit, every patch of this deposit, so the only way to get more is either to compress the mining drills, which makes no sense, or find ourselves a new mining outpost. So I tried deconstructing some of the mining drills there, but I actually run out of inventory space yet again, so I'll have to go and get rid of some stuff before I go and pick up the rest of the stuff that's there. We've got nearly a full stack of mining drills on us now, as well as multiple stacks of efficiency modules, which we'll have to find a use for. So we're setting up this new branch here. Going to come straight out of the top of this one here. So this is sort of, it's like a copper branch line, this bit, because there's nothing but copper coming from it. And then that one oil outpost early on. So we'll just clear a couple of trees. Wasn't worth bringing the tank up here. There's just a couple of little bits and bobs of trees around the place that aren't really a problem. And then we're going to have a corner in this one. I usually like to avoid corners unless I've got loops involved. But I decided with this one it's right on the edge of the system. There's probably not going to be other trains coming through here, at least as current plans go. So we can just put some corners in. It won't make too much of a difference. And with the new improved train pathing, we'll have a lot less trouble with trains going on random detours to places we don't want them to. So it's not so much of a problem if there isn't a turn back until the end of the line. So we'll put another corner in here, and then we can have the train in an east-west fashion, which makes it easier to set things up and get things loading properly. So there's a couple of trees to clear away, and then we'll start sticking in the station. I've got the spacing wrong. I always forget that I have to have another station sticking out of the main line, and so it goes right up to the deposit itself. I guess that's not too much of a problem. We can work with that. And then we need to put in our loop on the end, of course, so that the train can turn around and so on. Easy enough. I've got I've got used to the standard pattern of it, putting in all the correct bits, and it really helps to have the buffer things on the end of the rails when it comes to putting in the sort of the straight bits in the corners of the circle. But anyway, we're setting up our station now. We've got the train in position, and something's not quite right. You may have spotted it. I just carry on putting things in, oblivious, and it's time to put in the signals, craft a couple of those, and then suddenly I realise something is not quite right here, because I put the entire thing backwards. The rail system in Railworld operates in a clockwise fashion, so it needs to be going the other way. So we just do the whole thing again in the other direction. It's not too much of a problem. It does give us a bit more room, actually, to manoeuvre things and oars and so on, and then we can put in the signals properly this time. I had a little bit of trouble getting them to place right, but I've found out that R can actually rotate them. I didn't know that before. I don't know whether that's a new feature or something I just didn't spot, but you can use R to rotate the signals if there's multiple rails in the similar location that couldn't interfere with each other and sort of attract the attention of the signal. And then we suddenly have an attack over in Iron Outpost 2, and it's a bit worrying because quite a few turrets light up and something actually gets blown up. So we're going to have to go over there and check up on things. But right now I'm out in the wilderness, so I decided to just finish what I'm doing before I go and check up on what's going on there. So putting in our power grid here, just the usual line of the big pylons going along the length of the tracks. Makes sense to follow the tracks with them. And then we can start putting in our mining drills. So we're going to try and get enough to keep the train busy. So we'll put in our first little row here, get this connected up. Unfortunately, it's misaligned just slightly with the main line. We'll just have to deal with that. I mean, I could have had everything square down, but whatever, doesn't matter. Put in efficiency modules and everything, get it all powered apart from that one at the end. We'll fix that in a minute. And then we'll put in another row along here. And this time I'm not going to try and sort of fit the mining drills to the shape of the deposit or anything. It's just going to be a nice simple grid layout, because that just makes it a lot easier to deal with in the long run. We don't have any weird positionings of mining drills going on. I like to do that when I'm putting mine drills down in a deposit, though I don't always do it. If you watch No Crafting Challenge, the stuff I've done with the iron outpost, well, it's not an outpost, the iron deposit there is an absolute nightmare. There's just a complete mess of everything, really. And then there was the copper outpost that was, well, again, it was an outpost, it was just a deposit right by the base. Back in the beginning of this series, where that was a complete mess because there was water on either side, and I had to sort of cram everything inside, and then I had to have lubricant pipes going through, and it was just a nightmare, that. But anyway, we've got all of the mining drills that we want set up, and I just plonk a couple of laser turrets around the place. I'm warming to laser turrets now. I realise that they are quite convenient because you don't have to waste time putting ammo into them or anything like that. You can just plonk them down, and as long as it's inside the power grid, it's all good. So I've set up the train now, and this one is going to be going to the circuit outpost. It looks like at the moment the main base is absolutely fine for copper because there's not that much being used. It's mostly going into advanced circuits, and it seems like the supply is okay for there. So what we need to do right now is focus on keeping the electronic circuits as well supplied as possible with copper. With any luck, we can get things backing up. I don't know if they already have done, but that would be a good sign that the system is working well. You can see there's the train for Copper Outpost 1, and I've just shut that down. I've disconnected its, well, not disconnected, I've just cleared its train schedule, because there's no reason really to have 2 trains coming from Copper Outpost 1 anymore. And what I actually need to do is take the rear cargo wagon off the other train, because of course it doesn't need it now. But anyway, we need to put this train somewhere. I mean, I could just deconstruct it, but that's boring, so what I'm doing is parking it over in this little side bit here. It's a good job I built this, because it's useful if you have a train that you need to stop somewhere. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add on a little, whatever you call it, thing, a bypassing thing, I guess, or whatever. I don't know my rail terminology enough, but I'm going to stick a station here for spare trains. So we get that set up, we put in some signals and so on, and then what we can do is get the train to park itself in the spare train area, and then we'll just have a spare train for whenever we happen to need one. So I just tell it to go there and let it go on its little journey. And look at this junction right now, the circle junction in the corner. It's just, there's so many trains trying to get through it, and it's really cool. This is like exactly what I was trying to get when I set up Railworld, just trains going everywhere, so that you actually have these huge congestions and stuff build up. I mean, it's bad that happens, but it's so cool to watch all these trains manoeuvring around each other. Anyway, we're over in Iron Outpost 1 now, clearing away some old stuff. And then we have a biter attack, this time in Copper Outpost 3. And once again, we have a bunch of lights, and then something explodes as well. So I'm going to have to go over there as well and check out what's going on. Find out why the biters have attacked there. Well, I mean, I've just set up a new base that's going to be producing pollution and so on, so I guess that's why they're angry about it. But we need to go and make sure that it's well enough protected that it can defend against these sort of attacks. I mean, it definitely can't forever, because something did get blown up there, which means that they're capable of destroying something before they themselves are destroyed. So anyway, what I've done is hopped on board the spare train and told it to go over to Iron Outpost 2. So already it's showing that it's quite useful to have a spare train around. It's sort of now my private train for going wherever I need to go urgently that has a train station, which is good, because most of my factory has train stations around it. If you want to get somewhere, there's usually a station corresponding to that area. Though earlier on I was trying to work out something with where a train would go to the main base, and I realised there's so many different names for bases, well, for train stations in the centre of the factory, that I've sort of lost track of which one's which and what goes where. But anyway, enough talking about that. We are now blowing up biters, as you can see. Lots of destruction going on, because more bases have been springing up around Iron Outpost 2. They really seem to be intent on colonising that area, and every time I go over there, there's new bases set up just outside the pollution cloud that need dealing with, which is annoying, but I guess it lets me vent my eternal rage against the biters now for the events of the mission around the lake. And so what I decided to do is just go out into the wilderness and just start destroying a bunch of bases, because after going around the lake I realised the shape was quite a bit different north of the base than I thought. There's actually lake to the north, and so the only way that biters could sort of get into this area is to come from the east, which means that it's a lot easier to sort of stop them from doing that. So my reasoning is here that if I just go around in this north area and destroy all the biter bases, they'll have to go sort of past Iron Outpost 2, well, not exactly, but sort of, in order to get near Copper Outpost 3, which is brand new and not as well defended. So if we can clear out all the biter bases here, and then maybe set up a couple of defences north of Iron Outpost 2, we can just keep this area completely clear of biters, which would be really useful. But anyway, we're on this little spit of land here, and what I've decided to do is set up a radar outpost, because it seems like a nice place to do it. It's a little spit sticking out, and you can see it's actually really close to the one radar that we set up while we were going around the lake, and I think actually once they've both finished their scanning, the fields might overlap, which will be quite cool. We'll have it'll sort of be a little kind of connection from the middle of my mission to here, when they bridge the gap between the thinnest point of the lake, which nearly could have been us going home but wasn't, because there was more lake that we had to deal with, and so we had another 3 episodes. Anyway, we're continuing to run around clearing out bases. There's quite a few really tiny ones around here that just take 2 seconds to blow up. Some of them I can just run at them, and the destroyer drones will deal with them, and then I can just pick up the alien artifacts and carry on. Though really I don't need alien artifacts anymore. The alien science has stopped, of course. and there's not that much else in the way of uses for that. Here's a big base, tons of worms here. I have to run back and reinforce a bit, get my shields back up, and then run in for another pass. It's just got a core of worms that really try to batter me, but we managed to deal with it fine, picking up more alien artifacts. I think we've got over 1,000 of them again now, which is completely useless. I guess we could just churn out power suits or something. That would definitely give the factory something to do. And what I'm doing is I'm just walking up to the end of all these little spits of land so that we can scan out as far as possible, get as much mapping done as we can of the lake while we're here, because this is the last unexplored bit of the lake now, really, because I circumnavigated the whole thing, but I sort of skipped this last bit because somewhere towards the end it stopped being about going around the lake and started being about getting home alive and in as few pieces as possible. And I sort of just missed this last bit. Really, I should have carried on round here, and I would have had to deal with this base here. Look at this thing. This is insane. There's just so much in the way of worms in it, and I actually have to sort of run back, shoot some other base, and recharge my shields a bit before running in again. And I've got 50 destroyer drones here following me, and they still really get battered. I lost 15 of them in the first run, and I lose another 15 in this run, and I nearly fall back, but I realised that I've nearly got them done, so I just sort of push on and manage to get them all killed before my shields fail. So that was interesting. I don't know if I've lost my touch with these battles and it's become harder, or this was just actually a really difficult base to deal with. I mean, just look at all the dead worms that are there. That's absolutely mental. There would be a time when I would have never dreamed of being able to deal with that sort of base, but times change and new technologies develop and skills and so on, and you realise that you can just spawn hundreds of destroyer drones and basically be invincible. Anyway, there's just a couple more bases to deal with here now. I mean, there's a few more to the west, but I'm gonna leave them for the future. There's a bit more work that I need to do up here to make this properly sort of biter-proof. I mean, if I want to make it properly biter-proof, I'll need to do a proper wall spanning many kilometers like I did in my original Factorio series, but I don't think I'll bother with that. I think I'll just set up a couple of turrets in vulnerable areas, and if anything comes along, they should be able to defend against it, because building a wall of that size is just too much effort. Anyway, we've cleared away all the biter bases that we want to do today, so now we'll make our way back over to Iron Outpost 1. There's a mining drill to clear away there, and having a look at it, all the mining drills are currently running, which suggests to me that we need some more of them. So after plunking down some lights, because we're sort of lacking in that department, I start putting down a new line of mining drills, and this should hopefully keep things running a little bit longer. I mean, I could just plunk down mining drills and efficiency modules on the entire deposit, considering how many I've had to deconstruct from other places recently. But I like to only add on a little bit more each time, so that I actually have a reason to come back and visit and check on things fairly frequently, and it means that everything sort of clears in a nice line. It goes row by row. If I put everything down at the same time, everything would clear at the same time, which would be annoying. Anyway, we'll hop on board our private train and make our way back to the main base, so that we can carry on with other things. So we're pretty much coming towards the end now, so there's just a little bit more work in the base, and then we'll finish up. So there we go, parked, and I'm quite happy with that now. I think even if I need a train for something, I'll build a new one instead of using that, because it's quite convenient to have a spare train handy. Anyway, we'll go over and check on the rail stuff here, and it looks like it's actually finished. All of the steel is building up again, so I guess that's all fixed. So I grab a bunch more rails, which sets everything off in motion again. So I don't know if that's going to be enough or not, but it definitely feels like you can build a massive rail network with that, and just do something like going round the lake. We may need to be like resupplied halfway along, but then we will be building a railway, so we could just hop on board the train and go back home again. But anyway, we've got a bunch of stuff to unload, some efficiency modules, some turbo belts and things like that. We've got a bunch of ammo as well from turrets that we deconstructed in Copper Outpost 1, so I just dump those wherever I can. And that's pretty much it. So, well, actually, there's one more thing. I've got some random copper wire. I don't know where that came from, but we'll put that away as well. And that's pretty much everything that we can quickly clear. I guess there's some shields that need to go as well. But anyway, we'll do a quick check of the map. I've got a bit of an idea brewing. But anyway, I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.